Hello everyone, good morning. My name is Anissa Septisafitri. In this video, we want to presentation our discussion about responsibility at the age of absurdity. We are from group 13. Here's the name of our group member. First, Anissa Septisafitri. Second, Siti Fatima Romlah. Third, Siti Syahrani Hamirah. Responsibility at the age of absurdity. According to Leibniz, through a call to be responsible for others, in the context of human communication, Leibniz's work served as a reminder. A call to responsibility that embraces the burden of responsible action is an unfinished work. Camus accepts responsibility as fact throughout this entry as he relieves his commitment to the act of responsibility. The bond of responsibility and the recognize that comes when acts. Happy Death is the first novel written by Camus. In the opening part, the protagonist, Marcel, kills a man by the name of Roland Zegres, who is in a wheelchair because he no longer has any legs. Marcel left Zegres handwritten notes and the gun he used to kill the man in the villa as evidence of suicide. After leaving the house with the large sums of money that Zegres had spent, Marcel was overcome with a moment. Some of the characteristics of Marcel's involvement with life are consistent with Camus' overall work ethic. A second way in which A Happy Death fits into Camus' broader work is by telling the story a man who maintains realistic expectations, or expectations without limits. Third, despite Marcel sometimes distracted in his quest for happiness, he is finally able to move on without falling into despair. First person. This novel is found in Camus' birthplace at the scene of the tragic car accident that killed him in 1960. Various editorial changes would have been corrected in the script if Camus were still alive to finish his novel. His father, Henry, was a Frenchman of about 30. Upon arriving at the family's new home, Henry asked for help for his pregnant wife. The second, entitled Saint Beriac, takes place 40 years later and shifts the focus to the character Jake Cormery, and suddenly he was struck by an idea that shocked him. The person buried under the slab, who used to be his father, was younger than him. Although he never thought much of his father, Jake realized that he had always believed himself had created himself. In the same way, it's considered a violation of Camus' work that the absurd can serve as an appropriate metaphor for any situations, and one should provide communicative space for the emergence of new metaphors that will carry content into future moments.
Several cases, mother who killed her child in West Jakarta streets due to 2 months of unemployment. A woman named Nopiwanti, who is proven to be the perpetrator of the murder of her biological child, namely Gewe. Nopi is a woman who raises her child without a husband figure because she has children without first carrying out marriage. So she raises and leaves her child alone. He finances his children's school needs and makes ends meet, and he is alone. However, in the last few months, Novi has been unemployed and not working, making it difficult for her to pay for her child schooling. Psychological, she began to be distracted by not working anymore, and her savings continued to decrease to pay for her child's schooling, so that Novi experienced psychological problems which made her stressful until finally Novi killed her son, at first killed by spraying mosquito coil on her child, Gewe. and the event continued around 1730. Meanwhile, when asked by the authorities, Novi admitted that she was upset because her child kept with her bed. That is what made Novi kill her child, because she was stressed out, to support her own child without a husband to accompany her. Not to mention to she did not work. The relationship of responsibility in the act of absurdity with cases. For Camus, quid was one of his ways to stand out from the absurd not in the world in humans. If his life must be repeated rock climbing on the mountain, he knew the rock would withdraw people aware. The mechanical condition of life make man aware about liberation from life, but not squid. Before humans faced absurd experience, they were full of hope and aspiration, and this hope and aspiration would collapse after experience absurd experience. The principle gives birth to the formula everything new is allowed. The harmful man from the attitude of Marceau's character in the novel literature. We can clearly see the absurd concept in the above paper. May sip his Marceau's monotonous life make her not think about her dreams for the future. Neither the death of his mother nor the love of his lover Mary could doubt his feelings. After being detained of 1 year, he was brought to court. As a result, Marceau was considered a danger to society and was sentenced to death. Before the execution of the death sentence, Marceau was visited by a prince. The prince tried to convince Marceau that even though the death sentence has been handed down, Marceau's court still carried the sin against good. Marceau felt that the prior action had exceeded the limits, so Marceau injured report. With the rebellion, Marceau really found the absolute awareness of the life he had lived in the how he had to behave in living an absurd life.
Conclusion. The conclusion of the chapter is that according to our group, someone who is more concerned with their own welfare rather than the other welfare, even to the point of sacrificing others for himself. This chapter also provides an understanding of responsibility and a summary of the story A Happy Death and the First Man. The story of A Happy Death describes someone who stressed because his wife died, and at the end he killed people. How is he responsible for the death of his wife and the man he killed? Meanwhile, this story of the first man describes a child who lives a difficult but accomplished life trying to find the cause of his father's death, and that's where the concept of developing responsibility begins. In our opinion, as a student, when someone is get stressed, hormone cortisol and adrenaline will increase in the body and trigger heart disease, indigestion, and even depression. The stress you got can also affect your immune system, so you get sick more easily. Besides, stress can also affect it psychologically. When stress has affected a person's psychology, someone may experience mental disorders such as hurting themselves or trying to hurt other people, suicide attempts, and much more. Here are some ways to reduce your stress. First, change your lifestyle. Start changing our habits like getting enough sleep, get active exercise, eat healthy and adequate food, and do positive vibes. 2. Talking or confiding in others. Talking to family or close friend can help reduce stress because other people can help us by providing solutions and suggestions to calm our mind. 3. Write your own journal or confession. Writing a journal or sharing problems in a book can reduce the burden on the mind and can make a person feel more relieved and calm. But if the above stress cannot be overcome, then it's better to go to a psychiatrist for consulting. The problem at hand so as not to trigger events that do not desired.